speaking of five, more than 5 months after the PGA Tour announced an alliance with the Saudi-backed Public Investment Fund, the Tour hasn't agreed to terms on a deal. And on Monday, the PGA Tour's policy board met to discuss other investment options that have emerged in recent weeks. So for more, let's bring in Rex Hoggard from St. Simon's. Rex, what can you tell us?
Damon, I think Eamon just nailed it when you talked about Rory McIlroy in that press conference. He sounds subdued. He sounded like a man who actually sat through one too many meetings. And yesterday's meeting, by all accounts, from what I've been told, was a marathon session. And according to a memo that was sent to the players this morning by Commissioner Jay Monahan, the bulk of that meeting was spent really looking into two different areas. One of them, quote unquote, was outside investment. We all know what that is. That's the Tour's ongoing negotiations with the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. According to that memo, they are ongoing, they're progressing, but it would, quote unquote, deliberate, which means that there doesn't seem to be any ending in sight. It also kind of enlightens what we've talked about in recent weeks, that along with that offer from the PIF, there's been, quote unquote, unsolicited offers from many different private equity firms. We know now that Fenway Sports Group was one of those that have submitted. According to the memo, there have been dozens of those offers from various private equity. They have vetted, they've sort of whittled that down. They now go to the next step, but it doesn't seem like they're very close either right now to a deal with either the PIF or some other private equity. The other part of that memo addressed what they called was player progress. And this really goes to the heart of what the Tour is trying to create with this new for-profit entity. And we've talked about this before, that whatever PGA Tour Enterprises, which is what they call it, is going to become, there will be an option, there'll be a road for players to earn some sort of equity in that for-profit entity. This is very important. Go back just a couple weeks ago. Both of you remember that Endeavor, there was news that they had dropped out of the bidding to get in bed with the PGA Tour. And the reason is, I was told by people close to the negotiation, is because their bid did not include an option for players to earn equity in whatever this new for-profit entity is going to be. So we're starting to get a little bit better idea of what exactly this is going to look like.
Rex, there's one word in the memo that Jay Monahan sent to players this morning that carries a lot of weight as far as timeline goes. It's the word deliberate. Doesn't suggest that we're going to see a lot of action by December 31st, which was the original deadline set in that framework agreement, right?
I don't think so. I've spoken with a lot of people inside the PGA Tour. You have too. And I think from the very beginning, that December 31st deadline has been talked about as sort of a soft deadline. From what I've been told, they needed to create some sort of benchmark to have everyone moving in the right direction and make sure that everyone was staying on point, on topic. But they can certainly kick the can if they feel like they're making progress. And according to this memo, according to what they told the player directors and the independent directors at the last policy board meeting, they're certainly moving in that direction.
What do we know about the new independent director that was added to the board today, who replaces Randall Stevenson, the former CEO of AT&T, who resigned in protest earlier this summer?
Very, very close ties to the PGA Tour. He's the executive chairman of Valero Energy. Of course, Valero is a Tour sponsor, so he's very, very close to the PGA Tour. His name is Joe Gorder, and I think he is going to take that spot at a very important time. We just heard Rory talk about that he probably got a little bit more than he bargained for when he joined the policy board. I think all of the independent directors are probably feeling the same thing. It's important to also look at the very last line of the memo sort of touched on what they're talking about as governance. And we sort of go back to the middle of the summer when the framework agreement was announced. There was a lot of player pushback, and the Tour sort of embarked on this idea that they were going to take a hard look at exactly how the policy board was made up and exactly how much voice the players have. So going forward, right now, you have 6 player directors. Patrick Cantlay was signed for one more term. So it's essentially a 6-5 vote. So you get an idea of exactly how important this vote is going to be when they decide on who they go with, whether that's the PIF or some other private equity, or they continue the status quo.
It sounds like, business tends to slow down during the holidays, as we know, and this framework agreement is not exempt from that. Be sure to check out Rex's article on golfchannel.com. Thank you, Rex.
Thanks.
Well, what do you think, man? Same place where we were a few months ago? Unknown, speculation, or do you sense maybe even like the smallest incremental steps being taken?
There's definitely steps being taken and progress being made on the private equity side of this. They are now down to 5 potential groups. And to me, that's ultimately the fundamental question that the Tour is going to face here is, are they going to go with a group that is simply going to give them the greatest valuation possible to put as much money in the pockets of players as possible, or are they going to go with a group who might have a better proven track record in terms of managing major sports franchises or developing growth at a reasonable, sustainable pace that protects the asset for the long term. And those are two very different pathways that the Tour could potentially take in this situation here. And a lot of that will depend on how loud those voices are in the room. And it was kind of funny when Rex mentioned that governance line. I mean, if Joe Ogilvy's listening, that one was for you, Joe. That was the box checking that Joe can't complain that they're not paying attention to governance, because it was just simply a passing reference that they're aware of the considerations that have been raised in the past, and it's ongoing. But this was a memo of continuity. You know, Mark Flaherty was reappointed to the board, a former Goldman Sachs executive. Patrick Cantley reappointed to the board. Ed Herlihy remains as chairman of the PGA Tour board. So there's certainly continuity. All of those people aren't necessarily aligned in terms of what direction they want to go, and they all have their various issues, but it's certainly a memo that suggests continuity while they're trying to figure out what comes next.
There are financial considerations, but aren't there also, you know, let's say cultural considerations as well? And I use the word culture, what Joe Ogilvy talked about. Are your business interests, your future, you know, the way you look at the growth in the sport, the way you look at lifestyle, the way you look at things outside of the finances, how are they going to be aligned with the PGA Tour, and the importance that all of the participants, in particular the players, are in agreement and kind of rowing in the same direction?
And that's really where Colin Neville comes in, the Rain Capital advisor who's been appointed as the player advisor, who's got total insight on all of these negotiations, to try to herd the cattle when it comes to the players. Because as we saw in an interview Rory McIlroy did at the weekend, he said of his relationship with Patrick Cantley, a fellow board member, was average at best, to use Rory's phrase. He said, we don't see the world in the same way. We have nothing in common. And I don't think that's just those two. There's a lot of very different people on that board. Tiger Woods, a Peter Malnati, a Webb Simpson. There's probably a very different set of considerations each of those guys brings to the table. How they all align around one particular party here as a potential investor really does remain to be seen. And then that does raise the existential question, ultimately, is do the players, does the PGA Tour need or ultimately want the Saudi money? Because it might be cheap money in the sense that it's sort of cheaper than whatever they would get from private equity, but it comes at a high cost reputationally. And it may simply get to the situation where the board and the players say, you know what, this is our preferred option, and if that means being in competition with the PIF and with Live Golf for however long Live Golf exists, they may just choose to take that risk. But it really does seem as though everything is on the table at this point.
Right. Even in peaceful times, it was hard to get world number 1 and world number 100 on the same page to agree at what the future of the PGA Tour should look like. And make no mistake, these are not peaceful times in the professional game.